been a subcommittee of the Land Development Regulation Board that's been looking at this issue, and there's been participation from municipalities that have already established some new regulations regarding pharmacies. So this is following the approach that Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, Green Acres have already adopted into law, and some other jurisdictions I think are considering, which the Sheriff's Department, the Health Department, we've all been participating, and they found that by going after essentially the pain clinics last year at the legislature, the dispensing doctors at pain clinics are only allowed to dispense 72 hours of narcotics. And so what the pain clinics were doing were opening up related pharmacies to dispense narcotics. So what the cities have done and what we're doing in the changes to the ULDC is saying that no more than 15% of the scripts within a 30-day period at pharmacies can be these narcotics. Okay. And the Pharmacy Association has participated in drafting these regulations, and they found out in the jurisdictions that have these on the books that the 15% is a workable number, and it does stop these essentially like road pharmacies from staying in operation. Okay. So this will place this restriction on the books while we're getting the zoning for, in place. But the restriction right now, under the zoning progress, it would just apply regarding new establishments until we adopt the zoning regulation. The zoning regulation will apply regarding all pharmacies in the unincorporated area. Okay. But excluding like hospitals and nursing homes and other things. We're actually dealing with retail pharmacies.
Senator Aronberg and Sheriff Bradshaw, if you want to come forward and tell us if you're happy with this, or we're moving in the right direction. And
good morning. Thanks for moving this up on the agenda, and I appreciate that very much. I don't know about Dave Aronberg. I'm sure he's as happy about this as I am, because we're making such progress on this. It's not going to do any good to close one over here and then something pops over here, or they find a little loophole here and they're able to circumvent. So this is important. It's going to help us in the long run. I think it's going to help the community too, because you've seen through our recent enforcement action, the people in the communities are just thrilled to death when we can get these places out of their business area, out of their neighborhoods. So this is a good first step. The next step is, and I know it's a controversial subject, but we really believe it's important, is to do something with the database. We have some really good ideas. If it's not going to be on a statewide platform, we certainly have the ability to do it here, and we'll be discussing that with you. We've really got the mechanics in place to do it. All we have to do is maybe do a local ordinance to help us along with that. But
well, you did give us that information soon. We don't need to wait for the legislature.
Yeah, we're going to put it together and get something over here to you, but this is a great first step, and thank you very much for doing it. Okay.
Senator?
And thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the Commission, and thank you, Sheriff, for your leadership on this issue. The database, the good news is the database looks like it will stay. The database cannot be vetoed by the governor. It's already in law, passed 2 years ago. It passed unanimously in the Senate. It passed with only about 10 negative votes in the House. The House now, before it's operational, wants to eliminate the database, but the Senate has said no. And so the Senate will stop the database from being repealed. As for money, it doesn't need money because there are enough funds that have been raised privately and through public grants to fund the database for the first 2 years. And then Purdue Pharma, the makers of OxyContin, offered $1 million, which would fund it for an additional 2 years after that. So there's conceivably funding for the first 4 years without a penny of state dollars. So the database, I do expect to go operational this summer. The bid protest has been settled, and so I think you will see the database in effect this summer. As far as the ordinance, first, I commend you on your leadership. Palm Beach County, I believe, was the first county to enact a moratorium, and I've been going around the state and talking to other counties, and they're basing their ordinances in part on Palm Beach County. Martin County's got a great new one, and they're going farther as far as regulating pharmacies, and as the problem morphs into something new. And when Senate Bill 2272 passed last year, it did a lot to help us with the problem of dispensing physicians. Dispensing physicians were a big problem, but after the bill passed, it limited them, correctly as was stated, to 72 hours worth of dispensing of these medications. That's if the patient pays for it in cash, check, or credit card. And since almost all these places are cash only, that affected everyone. So to get around the rule, they have started their own pharmacies. And the anti-self-referral rules in the state and federal level are still so murky that they're getting away with it. Sometimes the pharmacies are inside their own clinic. Other times they just have a relationship with the mom and pop down the street. This will help out a lot. I've been hearing now that to protect themselves, some pharmacies are demanding that the patient give them a prescription for the drug they want, the controlled substance, the oxycodone or the Xanax, but also a prescription for something more benign like ibuprofen. And that's the only way they're going to get it filled, so they can at least have that. Now, your 15% rule will get at that. They won't be able to do that unless they give them 8 prescriptions of something more benign at the same time. So I commend you for drafting it up in this way, because I think it's really going to get at